Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today is day 13 of 21 days to unraveling the ego's grip. And acoustically, I'm up in Taos, New Mexico at a friend's house who's away. So the acoustics in here are very acousticy. So however it sounds, I don't know. I can hear my echo. But, oh wow. That's so interesting, you guys. It's so funny. My dog is running after a raven. The raven's flying low, and there goes my dogs, all three of them. This is pretty hilarious. They're like, woo, running after a raven. So anyway, sorry, this is just how it goes. So the ego always seeks control. And so let's talk about that a little bit first. I have a PhD in this myself, meaning because of my upbringing, because of my early imprinting, and because of how out of control things felt for me as a child, I definitely have had this part of me that's always planning, managing, trying to control things. And I like the word a lot, hypervigilant. Because the word control has a lot of judgment around it. She's a control freak, he's a control freak. And what you think of, a couple things, just to unravel a little bit from the ego. So we seek control, and then the ego part, the bully, swoops in and goes, you're a control freak. You can't let anything go. Let go, let God, that kind of thing. Just be chill. But if you grew up under circumstances that were so out of control, you would naturally, and of course, hey Fiona, want to seek to control the environment. This is what I say, the level of which someone is a control freak, hypervigilant, it's a softer word about it. The level with which someone is hypervigilant is directly proportional to how out of control things felt when they were a kid or in their life. And if you think about it that way, I think it can soften our judgment of self around this idea I need to control my environment, I need to be hypervigilant. And again, use whatever word is okay, feels better to you. Because again, if you've ever been told you're a control freak, there's so much negative press around that. And you might even say, no, I'm hypervigilant and I learned to be. I have epic hypervigilance. I mean, mine still shows up with my animals like that. I have a little dog and I have cats. And I live in a more rural area, so I definitely bring the cats in at night. It's things that I do that I'm just, I can't make sure nothing's going to happen to any of them, but I can do certain things to at least be more protective, because the predator ratio gets a lot heavier at night. So I'm yeah, they're staying in. And so you can have things like that, and you could go, oh, is she a control freak? Yeah, and I'm controlling the environment a little bit more just so that I feel better about it. So there's another way to think about that and go, okay, during the day, they go out. If something happens to them, I know that's a possibility. But at least at times when I know that I can do something, I'm going to do it. So think about, where's the difference where you're hey, trust in God, but tie your camel. I'm tying my camel. And then pray to God, but row to shore. So what are the steps that you can take? And again, here's the action steps to me can come from a place of inspiration. So when you get that inspiration of yeah, I'm going to do this just because it feels lighter, it feels easier, I sleep better. If I know that's happening, it feels good. But the ego wants to judge us for everything. But this idea of the ego will change your brain about, you got to control this. Where I see my controlness, my vigilance show up, that really weighs much more to, I'll use the word negative side, is around other people. So if somebody else, and they're more intimate people in my life, is acting out in a way, and I've gotten better about this over time, where I'm oh God, I have that feeling like I had as a kid. it's mirroring, say, shame or embarrassment that I felt as a kid, maybe watching certain interactions with parents and stuff like that. And when I notice that, again, it's to notice it and go, wow, my kid's activated here right now, and my kid's feeling ashamed and embarrassed. And the thing with this is, we try to control more when we feel out of control. So if you just know that, and if somebody ever calls you a control freak, go like, yeah, happily, sure, I am. Or I'm very hypervigilant, learn to be. And when we own it and can make it okay, it's directly proportional to the out of controlness that I felt growing up, that nothing was in my control. I mean, I had no choice. I was just left to survive this circumstance. I think when we see it that way, it brings a lot more compassion in to ourselves. Huge, because that's how we start to affect change, is to accept first those aspects of ourselves that we've been judging the hell out of ourselves for. So it's a way to see control is like, am I trying to control this person? And here's the other thing, this is the key that most of us have learned, is codependency. We live in an environment that taught us, if they would just behave differently, I'd be okay. And that's outside of ourselves. It's outside of ourselves. So if they just be better, I'll be okay. And that's a prison sentence for us. And just to notice, if you're in that, if they would just behave differently, I'll be okay. I was around someone about a month ago, believe it or not, even if I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. A place that I would notice I would feel shame and embarrassment coming up around this person's behavior. And I noticed I was a little uncomfortable, but it was vastly different from how it used to be. I feeling like, can you settle down? Like, can you just behave like that? As if their behavior is a reflection on me. But that's what I learned. That's what I learned. That's what my parents and any of you was. I learned observing my parents' behavior is a reflection on them. So when they're trying to control my behavior, wow, shocking that I would do that as I was growing up and became more of an adult. Understand sort of the origin. It just helps lighten the load, soften the way we see ourselves. Again, this is another thing I've heard a lot. I hear this thrown around a lot. Oh, she's such a drama queen. Oh, he's such a drama queen. There's always drama around them. If you had a dramatic upbringing, you are naturally going to have drama in your life until you continue to start to attend to it, because that's your early imprint. That's what you knew. So of course we recreate drama. I did this years ago. When I was still working in corporate, we had two different sales managers, and I remember this distinctly. The one sales manager came up, he goes, "What is it now, Marty?" Like that, and it just struck me like, wow. And I was judging myself for that. Oh, wow, I'm creating another circumstance that has a lot of drama around it. But the judgment of self about that's the thing that gets in our way. Of course I would do that. I had a very dramatic childhood. So it's just ways to soften that, and just think about, if you call yourself a control freak, maybe try the word hypervigilant. And then if you go, well, yeah, of course I try and control the environment. I try and control people outside of me, because that's what I learned to do. But my only true freedom comes from me freeing myself. And freedom of self is to be able to be around, truest freedom is to be able to be around other people that trigger you and just go, that's interesting. Wow, they're having that, but we don't take it on. That's when we're freer. And it's a practice. It's a work in progress. So let's tap. Let me see what everybody wrote. Hi, Marty. I'm fond of control too, right? Oh my gosh, right? PhD. Oh, you look great in this pink shirt. Oh, thank you, Marcia. That's so sweet. Hi from Rio. Love it. The signal is really Breaking. Oh, okay. Is it still? And it's funny, I can't see that on my side. So let's, good when we're tapping. I am in a remote area. So let's go with it and see what happens. Sorry about that. Hopefully, is it still, Fiona, is it still breaking up a lot? If you could just, and maybe it is because you're not able to respond.